Hey there, everybody, this is Ray Carsillo, reviews and previews editor for EGM, and I'm with Michael Goroff, one of our staff writers here. And Michael, you had the pleasure of heading to New York City and seeing NBA 2K18.
I did. I was flown out to the Big Apple, and yeah, they had a whole event basically based around the feature that I'm showing off in this video, which is the new neighborhood feature, which is basically like a big shared online lobby that's tied to the My Career mode in this year's NBA 2K game. So that's kind of what we're getting into right now. So basically, I selected My Career. I don't know if if they just set it up this way for the event or what have you, but they basically gave you like an archetype that each game station sort of had an archetype that you play as. Mm-hmm. So my character, even though he doesn't look like it in the neighborhood mode, he's like the center. He's like a power center, or like a shooting center, I mean.
Okay.
So
what is he, like 6'11" then? Maybe not like a true,
not like Shaq sized.
Yeah, not a monster against the boards, but definitely still somebody who he's kind of a hybrid power forward center.
Exactly. So that's kind of what I was working with. You can see like the stats were the attributes that my player had were more geared towards that kind of stuff. Like he has a high 3-point. He's got a really high 3-point stat boost, but he's like a center. So it's kind of an interesting mix of attributes and position.
I was definitely going to say, you don't usually see a lot of big men taking threes.
No, it's
jumpers from the corner, things like that.
It's interesting because you're supposed to play the boards, but as a center. But I also had a tendency to want to stay outside the 3-point line and make those big shots. So we'll see. You'll see gameplay later.
Well, you got to do what you got to do for your team, I suppose.
I guess so. It makes it very hard to know what you're supposed to be doing, but it's an interesting concept, and I'm interested to see when I review the game if the whole archetype system sort of makes it into the full game.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, because typically in NBA games, like once you pick your position, like your certain categories are so low, like typically like 3-point shooting for for a center, or maybe rebounding for a small forward or a guard or something, a point guard. So to see that you can actually still work up your stats in all categories is interesting. And yeah, I'll be interested to see the final balancing. But so what's the point of neighborhood feature? I mean, they took you to New York City because, of course, that's considered like the birthplace of I guess street ball and
modern
things like
basketball mechanics. And they explained a lot of that. They actually had the guy who did the slam dunk announcement in NBA 2K17. He announced the slam dunk contest. He's been in NBA Street as the announcer. Babito, I forget his last name, but he's a big time street ball announcer. Mm-hmm. And he was kind of explaining the history of New York in terms of how it basically street ball in New York is why basketball is played the way it is today.
Yep. A lot of guys coming from from Rucker Park and things like that, and even a lot of pros nowadays will go to the streets in the off season and will play in certain areas. And as we're watching your guy absolutely fail at these reps here,
this was so hard. But this is one of the interesting things about like the neighborhood. I don't know about last year's, and that's kind of why I wanted to have you here with me to comment over this video, but I don't know if they had this kind of stuff last year. I didn't play last year.
No, this is completely different. This is all new, and this is, I mean, obviously the neighborhood in general is a new feature, but in terms of like taking your personal character and playing them up and training them like this, really a lot of your training happened, a lot of your tribute points, you basically just would earn them in game. It's like, what would you do in game?
Actual games, yeah.
You could practice a little bit, like in your crib, I guess, in your own personal gym, but you wouldn't. I mean, you didn't have something like the Gatorade Sports Science Institute here with so much product placement.
Yeah. There's more yet to come. Don't worry.
It wouldn't be an NBA game if there just wasn't product placement
professional
everywhere.
Sports, that's how it is. There's plenty of product placement at the event too, so that was fun. A lot of integrated marketing there. But this is actually pretty interesting, this whole training facility thing. There's a bunch of different activities. There was one that I didn't want to go through the whole thing, but I just wanted to see what it was. It's like a reaction test. The jumping on the barrels thing, I obviously failed at this. This one's a little bit more straightforward. It's like a sprinting exercise. And I actually do get some reps in on this one, so I do gain some kind of experience.
Nice, yeah, you get wind sprints. It's basically as if you're doing it in the gym. If anybody ever, I don't know about you guys, I was not good at basketball growing up, but when you played in the gym, typically when you warmed up, you had to run back and forth, a good warm up here. So.
Right. Yeah. So it's kind of an interesting way to gain experience for your character. I'm not sure exactly how much experience you can gain. I'd imagine that there isn't really a limit on it. So if you wanted, you could sit here for hours and just get your character's level higher and higher. You do gain experience. I gained very little from the first one, and I don't exactly remember how much I gained from this, but you also get like boosts for the next game, so it kind of pays. Like I got a boost for my actual running boost for me to use in the next game, which is kind of an interesting thing. So it does pay to sort of stop in between every game if you're really going to get deep into the career mode. Stop in between every game, go do a few reps of every exercise, get some boost for the next game, and hopefully it'll help you out in while you're actually playing. Right. So that's one part of it. I didn't really hang around for this because you could see there's people in line ahead of me. But that's like a slam dunk contest. I imagine all of those kinds of things actually do play into like giving your character some boosts, maybe a little bit of experience.
Kind of like the practice from the previous game, from 2K17, where you could have a teammate come over and you could shoot hoops and stuff and kind of do a little one-on-one. So that's interesting. And that's interesting that there was folks online for that. So this is like a persistent world then. There's other people who can come into your neighborhood?
Yeah, so they had a lot of those characters you'll see were actually like AI that they were just kind of having in there to sort of fill it in. But I do run into a couple of actual real people in this persistent shared world. So it is sort of like a social space. A lot of games are doing this now. Destiny did it. Call of Duty World War II is doing it with Headquarters. And people were really, really excited when they saw the neighborhood thing pop up on the screen. When they had us go and we went to a Foot Locker. We went to a barber shop. We went to all the kind of places that you'd find in neighborhood. People were really excited when we got back to actually play the game, and this was the first thing that they sort of announced. So a lot of the YouTubers that were there were really excited about it. I just wanted to show off how many shoes there are.
Right.
There's hundreds of shoes and colors for you to choose from. They really put a lot of effort into making it so that if you want to spend the time on really individualizing your character, you really can. Here, there's just clothes. These are clothes that that you can wear around the neighborhood. Just a lot of effort went into this sort of stuff. People were pretty excited about it, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, typically, a lot of these guys, they care about their looks. They care about representing themselves as much as possible. They care about making themselves look, quote unquote, as baller as possible, I suppose. But that's something for me that I've never actually cared too much about in a game. Like, I would probably spend more time at the Gatorade Center, probably training and working and trying to get my guy better, because I want to be as good as possible on the court. And that's why I'm not a basketball player, because that's not what basketball is about anymore.
Yeah. See, I'm all about the flash, the fancy clothes, the weird colors when it comes to video games. So I tried to stand in line. I just didn't know what was going on.
We're morphing together.
A little weird thing. I know this is it's probably pretty close to the final build, but these guys were all AI characters, I'm pretty sure. Like all of the actual players were NBA 2K18 _ whatever. So a lot of these players were simply I think AI that they put in here. Maybe they didn't really explain who those other players were.
Okay. I was gonna say, because that AI was pretty awful, that person was pretty awful if it wasn't AI.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't think he made one dunk.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't know. This game was pretty difficult, but that's just because I haven't played an NBA 2K game in a while.
Mm-hmm.
So I really enjoyed the gameplay. I can't tell necessarily how different it is from last year's. From what I heard, it's not that different. I was hanging out with another journalist, and we were kind of trading off the sticks, and they were saying, they're a fan of it. They were saying it wasn't that much different.
Well, that's something that the 2K series has struggled with for a long time. That's why I gave last year's game a 7.5, because last year's game really didn't innovate, aside from the fact that they tried to make a slightly better story that go around. Obviously the big draw is neighborhood mode, and I think that it's going to be a big thing for a lot of people, because most people who do care about the social aspects of games and stuff, this is a big addition to try and embrace what basketball culture has really become, and I think that's really going to be a big thing for a lot of people who enjoy the NBA 2K series.
Yeah.
But because the thing is that's the thing too. Their gameplay has always been so good. I mean, and you look at the graphics. I mean, I've had the ability to play NBA Live recently, and I've also and I'm watching this. NBA Live has made strides since they were out like a few years ago. They still don't hold a candle to NBA 2K's graphics, though.
Yeah, I mean, the detail in basically every aspect of your character is kind of insane in this game. I mean, I was kind of blown away when I saw it. Just from the texture and the skin, the hair, the way the clothes move. I mean, it's pretty impressive stuff. This is the first time you go into this barber shop. There's this extended cutscene that really makes you, like, they develop this sort of history between your character and these barbers, and it's just a really interesting how much that is. I wasn't prepared for how much story was going to be integrated into every aspect of the My Career mode, and we'll get to that later when I play my first game. But yeah, I mean, you get to know these people, you get to know you get a little bit of the history. It really does feel like they don't go into detail, but it really does feel like they know each other. And so it's kind of it's fun. It in some ways, to me it felt like an extended menu that just kind of took a while to walk through. I mean, they could have done a lot of this stuff in basic pull down menus. Like there isn't necessarily a reason to have this shared persistent world, except for the fact that you can show off your character, you can sort of interact with other players in a way that isn't just going to my court and playing against them. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of neat.
So now I'm just curious. Now, did you play for Oklahoma City? Is that who you got drafted by?
No. That was just the clothes that I was picked up by the Wizards. They put me on the Wizards.
Okay.
For some reason, my character just was born dressed in Oklahoma City clothes. Yeah, I know. I thought that was weird too when he comes in and he was saying, "Oh, Wizards." Yeah, I was like, "Wait, you're not wearing Wizard stuff."
Yeah, exactly.
But this is cool. Whenever you play, you can select. They had a huge selection of uniforms. I don't know if those are all going to be available when you first play, or if you're going to have to earn those. But
I would imagine you'd have to earn them, but that is great that they have all those classic uniforms. I mean, especially for a franchise like Washington that has that long history.
Yeah.
As the Bullets and as what's not,
it's been a long summer. I'm your host, Ernie Johnson. We have been waiting for this.
Even Ernie and Shaq and the Jet over there look a little smoother than last year.
Yeah, they look okay. They looked a little sleepy.
Yeah, well, you should have seen them last year. They looked like zombies last year. So they go from the undead to just sleepy is an improvement on the pregame show.
I mean, that is one, like, the actual models look insane, but some of the animations were still a little bit. I mean, I liked them because I find that kind of weird stuff charming in games. Especially when it's going for, there's such a high level of just like perfection that goes into the presentation. They really tried hard to make it feel like you're watching an NBA game. Like, all of that stuff was really well done, but then you have like these weird animations where your character's eyes are kind of just floating around in his head. And personally, I like it, but I know some people are going to be like, "What's going on?" Yes, sorry, here my microphone got my headset got disconnected for a second.
It happens.
It was kind of, there was like 30 game stations and like 200 some people at this event. So
you gotta love it when they don't plan.
Some of the stuff just went awry a little bit. But.
Yeah. So so who's this? Is this like your best friend character? Is this
this is like you're the rookie, and this is sort of like you're the veteran player that's kind of looking out for you. That's kind of like mentoring you.
Gotcha.
So they're basically talking about how the rookie, your character, who they call DJ when they're announcing him, like they didn't really let me pick the name.
Mm-hmm.
But he, this is his first game, and he's trying to talk big and talk about how he's going to just blow up the NBA, and the vet's sort of trying to temper his expectations a little bit.
Kind of acting as the foil to the hothead newcomer.
Yeah, and it's an interesting dynamic. I mean, it's like well acted. It feels well acted. It feels well written. It's pretty engaging, and it made me want to play as this guy. So that was good.
The was this a final build, they say, or is it still do you think they could have put a little more spit and polish in it before the I would have to they didn't say. I would have to imagine it's pretty close to a final build though, considering the game comes out in 2 weeks. Well, now it comes out in a couple weeks, but when you played it, so when you played it was about a month before release, so
yeah, a little under.
Speaking of release,
I know. Well, the last time I played a basketball game, we didn't have meters and stuff like that. It was that long ago. So yeah, I was just getting used to it. But I really like this. I mean, I played a little bit of it before I got to record some of the footage.
Right.
But I really like that. I don't know if that shoot around was in last year's game, but it's definitely a cool thing. It's immersive. They did a lot to make this game pretty immersive in terms of like you feeling like you're actually playing for a team. You're one player on a larger team trying to just do the best you can.
Right. So now do you play the whole game, or are you just playing? Do you play like your shifts? Like, do you go to the bench for a little bit? Like,
yeah, you'll sit on the bench for most of the game, and at least in the first game of the season. I mean, I got to play they let you play a decent amount, but you can watch from first person while you're sitting on the bench, or you can just kind of skip the parts that you're not playing, and then then you'll just be put in the game as your player.
Gotcha. Yeah, because that's speaking of sleepy.
Yeah, I know.
Oh man.
And the lip sync isn't exactly like perfect. I think it suffices. I mean, I'm not gonna. It's not like Mass Effect Andromeda where it's gonna be a game breaker for most players.
No, because it's just, I mean, most of the time, at least when I got into it, I used to try to skip most of the stuff as much as possible anyway. Like after you see it a couple of times, it's nice, but like I want to get into. I'm one of those guys. I want to get into the game. I want to play the game.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, but that's interesting because like last year, so I remember I got drafted by the Toronto Raptors in last year's game, and I played, like, I was a starter, like right from the get-go. Like, I was a superstar starter, and I could basically just kind of, like, I played probably 3/4 of every game,
Oh, interesting, yeah.
So, that's cool that you can kind of, like, more like a proper rookie, that you're basically going to kind of ride the pine for a little bit.
Yeah. That's what it seems like. It could just be that I was terrible at the game, and... who knows? Like, I don't know. It could be possible that I just failed at playing. So I just wanted to watch the first point, and now we're skipping ahead to where I get put in.
Yeah. Also, I mean, to be fair, there's not a lot of schemes that plan for 3-point shooting centers.
No. Yeah. So... I mean, I had no idea what to do, honestly. And I'm not like, I watch basketball, but here I'm not thinking, and I'm like sitting in the paint for way too long. And there we go, 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's stuff like that where it's like, I mean, it's cool because if you know basketball, it really it makes you feel like you are one player on a larger team. Mm-hmm. Like I know a lot of, some players like this kind of stuff more. Some players like controlling the whole team more. But for me, this is, I haven't played a mode like this before where you're only controlling one player and the AI is controlling the rest of the team.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you can do that you can just like manually do that on sports games, but to have it tied to like, well, I really want to do well because they got my grade up in the corner. They're tracking all my stats. The only thing I've done so far is get a turnover.
Yeah.
It makes it actually really feels like I felt like I was like really invested and connected in this player who I didn't create, I didn't pick how he looked. I didn't pick what his position was. I didn't pick his stats.
Well,
and even despite all that, I was really invested in this guy's career.
I was going to say, and when you do create your player from scratch, you do start to get a little bit more something with him. And it's interesting, too. I think basketball, more than other sports, I think I do prefer my career, the playing as the one person. Because I play the show, I play Madden, I play NHL, and you do the be a pro modes or whatever because you gotta, but damn son, you stinking up the place. But
I know I'm like, oh wait, I keep forgetting they have me on a guy that's not hanging out by the boards.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm supposed to be guarding that guy, but I'm also center, so they want me to get rebounds. So what is what is my job here?
Right. And
I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing.
It goes back to the fact that you created somebody that's a weird hybrid.
Well, I didn't create him. That was what they gave me.
Right.
So it was pretty confusing. The first time I played, it was like straight up shooting guard.
Yeah.
Who was, he had a lot of agility. He had a lot of good like stats put into his power moves or whatever you want to call it, and his evasive maneuvers. And that I got. I'm like, all right, hang out. I'll fake and put up threes, and that's what I did. And I did like way better when I was playing as that archetype as opposed to this guy.
Right.
I'm like, what am I supposed to be doing with this guy? I'm not even sure. So yeah, I skipped past the first quarter. I wanted to show this. They do like an interview segment with him, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, so this was in last year's game too, where you kind of had like in between quarter interviews.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see if you used the face creation, because like for last year, my guy was like a monster when I used the face creation, because it was like they gave so basically my mouth became basically my entire upper lip, and then they drew then they made a bottom lip too, so I had this weird like double lip, upper lip.
Oh, I've seen it.
Yeah, you've seen the
I've
picture.
written about it.
So that's one thing I hope that's also come along. I mean, obviously, this is a guy who was created from scratch, or from, like you said, like somebody that they very specifically scanned into the game.
Yeah. Here I just left my guy wide open. Luckily, he doinks the dunk. I just left him wide open, though. This is the kind of stuff that I'm gonna have to get used to.
Yeah, you'll get the hang of it.
Yeah. It was a crazy environment to play this game for the first time in, so I didn't really get to like check the controls, test out, just test it out. I kind of just felt like, all right, I have like half an hour to get footage. I need to like get in here. I definitely wanted to show off the neighborhood stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, it was definitely fun to play, and I'm really looking forward to playing the full mode. But yeah, I just wanted to show the end of the game. We got creamed, and that's the other thing. I don't know if I played better, if we would have had a chance to win, or if they would have had you lose your first game anyway, because you're obviously not playing the full game.
Right. I mean, it depends. Like, you can actually have a really big impact on the game, and I think that's kind of the idea. Like, at least last year when I went in 2K17, you could have a really big impact on the game, and you could single-handedly carry your team, because that's actual basketball. You can have a guy like a LeBron James who can literally single-handedly carry his team to the NBA Finals like he did in his first stint in Cleveland. Obviously, he couldn't actually get him over the hump until more recently, but on his second stint with Cleveland. But that's the thing. If you play well enough, you should be able to at least make it closer than a 23-point defeat.
Right. Well, and that's the thing, though, is, the whole point of this is to get your character. It's called Road to 99. Mm-hmm. Like, the whole idea is to get your character up to a 99 overall rating. They started my guy at an 83. So it'll be interesting. I mean, if LeBron James, if you want to talk about his rookie season, he would have been rated in the 90s easily. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see, like, our other archetypes, or can you get higher than starting at an 83? Are you lower? And they just gave us 83 for this event. They didn't really let us get too much into the character creation process, so that'll be really interesting to see when the full game comes out.
I wouldn't be surprised for this. They probably did 2 cutscenes.
Yeah, and
probably.
Depending on if you won or lost.
Yeah.
That's what I really very excited to get the full game and sort of try both when I get my career going, is to see win one, lose one, see what happens, see how it changes the narrative.
Yeah. Well, now you lost. Now you gotta get better. Now when we get review code in, you're gonna have to do. You have to go win.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try a lot harder to win.
Or at least do better. At least do better than a D rating. Maybe Boo Boo give you that fist bump.
Yeah, maybe he will. So the only thing that's coming up after this, there's an interview segment, and they I guess we'll get to it soon, but I don't. Did they have like choices in dialogue in NBA 2K17? So it seems like a lot of this is pretty much the same for someone like me, and I would think not everybody that plays these games buys it every year. Yeah. So some of this stuff is going to be new for them, and it's actually pretty exciting. I don't know. The story seems. I don't know if this is a similar story to last year's, but they have agents. You've got interviews.
No, it seems like there's a lot more characters around you in this year's game than there were at least in last year's game. Like you had some people around you, but like here you are. I guess this is your agent or whatever, and like, or some
a team publicist,
something like that. Yeah, like.
Hey, DJ, thanks for taking the time. Yeah, I mean, no problem. I'm just a little surprised you want to talk to me, considering I barely played and had like no impact.
See, and that kind of stuff, it'd be interesting to see also if I had scored like 30 points and gotten like 10 assists, if he would have said something different. So we'll see when the game comes out. I'll actually be able to test that out.
You struggled a bit out there tonight.
And you can choose.
Yeah, confidently or carefully. I was pretty careful because no reason to be confident. That's for sure.
We have a great team, a great coaching staff, and I'm just happy to be able to play the game that I love every day. Of course.
So yeah, that's basically it. Just wanted to show off like a little bit of the neighborhood. There was a lot more to the neighborhood that I just didn't have time to explore.
Right.
When the game comes out, I definitely would like to go back and hopefully make another video that sort of shows off more of the features of that. But yeah, I mean and then I wanted to show the first game and just show kind of the beginning of the My Career mode. But yeah, I mean it's coming along pretty well. Like it looks great. The presentation's really fun, and I think people that want to pretend to be an NBA rookie are really going to get a lot out of this. And it seems maybe even there's more story that goes into it. There's more. It just feels more alive maybe than the last year's My Career mode. So
yeah, no, it definitely feels like it's a lot more fleshed out. I definitely think it seems to be deeper. I mean, I'm kind of jealous that I'm not reviewing it now this year.
Yeah,
but not jealous enough to take it off your hands.
Well, thank you.
But no, but it definitely seems like they definitely stepped up their game, and we're out of time.
Yeah. So NBA 2K18 September 15th for early access on Xbox and PlayStation 4, and then what's the final release date? I can't remember off the top of my head.
The 19th?
19th, yeah. So, and that's coming Switch, PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. Yeah, well, thanks for joining us, guys, and we'll see you next time.